All righty, time for you to come join us. We got a lot of fun. We want you sitting in the Delmarva Life studio audience. It's real easy to do. All you have to do is go to delmarvalife.com. You can click on the show tab. You'll find for the section that says for the audience. Now, what we'd love for you to do, bring your family, bring your friends. If you got somebody at church, bring them at work. Just go out in the street, start rounding up a bunch of people. We'll have a place for all of you. Come on by. We'd love to see you. To book your seat, just visit delmarvalife.com, click on the show tab. You'll find the for the audience section. If you'd like, you can even give us a call. The number's there on your screen, 443-880-9116. We're looking forward to seeing you.
We have just a few more months until we can get outside and get gardening again, but don't let that stop you from exercising your green thumb now. Gardening expert Ginny Rosenkrantz from the University of Maryland Extension Office joins us this afternoon. And Ginny, today we're talking about African violets.
These are probably one of the most popular houseplants because they are so easy to grow. And they give you gorgeous flowers. Look at these pretty flowers.
Yeah, and there's lots of different colors and shapes of the blooms, and they just kind of pop with the green leaves, don't they?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, the traditional African violet is just basically green, and used to have just purple or blue flowers, and then of course, they branch out and all that. And actually, I like to get the ones that have the varicolored leaves because they're even pretty when they're not blooming.
Right. Now, what kind of light do they need? Where should we put them in our house?
Well, that's a good question because a lot of people feel that because they're blooming, they need to be right with all the light, but these guys have really, really fuzzy leaves if you ever touch them. And that's an indication that they really don't like really bright light. So I would say bright indirect light. And a good rule of thumb is like maybe 2 or 3 feet away from a south-facing window or a west-facing window. Just as long as they have enough light to bloom.
Right.
You know, sometimes people like to put it on an east window or north window because the sunlight is not intense. But they need to have enough light to go ahead and give some flowers.
What about temperature?
You know, that's a nice thing. They like the temperatures that we like.
Oh, really?
So if you're comfortable in your house, they're going to be comfortable too. They like it a little bit warmer in the daytime, but that usually happens when you have some sunshine too.
Right, right.
Yes.
Now, one thing that I found interesting about African violets is that they like humidity.
I know. A lot of people say, well, African, are they dry? You know, that kind of stuff. They like to have a lot of humidity. I solved the problem by having them all together, having this little group hug. And that way they share their humidity amongst each other. But if you only have 1 or 2, you can get a tray, fill it with pebbles, and then just sort of pour some water over the pebbles. That way you're not keeping the soil actually wet, but you're keeping the humidity hot.
Oh, so the water is there.
Yes, but the plants need to stay, fairly dry.
Okay, now you need to be careful with the leaves when you put them in the window.
Yes, yeah. A lot of people who, single pane windows were really horrible for African violets because you put them against the window and they would actually freeze.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
not a good idea. And even with double pane windows, there's still a lot of leakage of cold air, so you don't want to do that. So keep them away from the window a little bit. And also that goes with watering. If you're going to water the plants, you want to water with warm water. Room temperature is really good, a little bit warmer too. Cold water, when you pour water over top of them, it actually spots the leaves.
Oh,
so you want to keep the leaves as dry as you can. So when you water them, you try to get them, without actually getting the leaves wet.
Well, how often should you water them?
I only water once a week.
Really?
Because they like to be evenly moist, but they like to have a chance to dry out. It's just like us. We like to drink a little bit, but we don't want to be water slogging all the time.
Right,
And they're the same way. These are not, amphibian. They don't like to live in water.
Right, right.
So,
and like you said, keep the water off the leaves.
Right, right. So when you water them, like for instance, this one, I can go ahead and after it waters, I can take it out and say, oh, is there any water in there? And it's a good idea to go ahead about 10-15 minutes after you water just to see if there's still a lot of water sitting there. And if it is, dump it out.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And stick with the regular water, like you said, not cold, not too warm.
Right. Well, and there's another question also. A lot of people have conditioners, and they remove the iron in our area. Oh, we have a lot of iron in our area. With salt, and too much salts, of course, are bad for these plants. So you'd want to go ahead and either get rainwater or buy water, which is kind of frustrating. But then you know that you're not giving too much salts to these plants.
Okay. Do we need to fertilize them?
Because they bloom, they do need to have fertilizer. But that would be spring, summer, and fall when they're actively growing, and you don't want to have them fertilized in the wintertime. Even though these guys are blooming, I'm going to tell them, you're all on a diet. Just deal with it.
Can you transfer them outside? Can you take them outside?
In the summertime you can, once all danger of frost is, but you'd want to make sure to put them in an area where they're going to get, again, the bright indirect light, so on a porch or something like that where they don't get the direct sunshine. I don't do that because if I do that, then when I bring them in the fall, I'm going to bring critters in. And I just prefer to let them stay nice and healthy inside. And that's another thing. If you're buying new ones and you already have a whole bunch, you don't want to put them right beside your old ones. You want to make sure that you have them for a couple of months so that if there are any critters, they'll exhibit themselves without infecting everybody else.
The other one. Okay, so we touched on going outside, and I have to ask you, is there anything we can do now for our fall garden?
Absolutely, absolutely. As long as the ground is not frozen, we can go ahead and plant anything. If you have any bulbs left over, go ahead and put them in the ground. If you have, trees or shrubs, it's still a great time. And actually now's a good time because there's no leaves on the trees or on your shrubs. So you can go around and see where you'd like to have an evergreen in the middle of winter time to kind of spruce things up. If the ground is still frozen, one of the things you can do right now before the ground freezes, put some mulch, about 2 inches of mulch on, and that will keep the ground from freezing.
Yeah.
Pull it off when you get your plant, dig a hole, put it in, water it in, push it down.
And when you say bulbs, you mean like daffodils?
Daffodils, tulips, crocuses, that kind of stuff. My crocuses are already in bloom.
Are they really? Now, will they be in danger if we get...
No, they're designed to deal with the cold.
They are.
They're probably going to go, okay, it'll be fine.
All right. Jenny, as always, good information. Thank you for all of this and bringing this all in. And speaking of getting outside, still ahead on Delmarva Life, grilling, it's not just a summertime activity. People do it in the winter as well. But did you know there are grills that run off pellets? How it works and the benefits of it all next. And speaking of grilling certain foods can go a long way in lowering your cholesterol. Dr. Oz has more on how to get your numbers where they need to be.
Hi, I'm Dr. Oz. High cholesterol can turn you into a ticking time bomb. To lower it, practice my HEART plan, HEART. Have fiber with whole grains. Expand your grocery list with plant-based foods. Absorb alcohol, 1 drink per day. Reduce stress with more sex. And try medication if levels stay high.